They weren't household names. They didn't hold belts in Portland or headline the Portland sports arena. But they came through Don Owen's House of Action. Some for one match, some for a handful, and each left behind stories worth telling. I'm your host, Frank Culbertson, and this is Portland Wrestling Obscurities, forgotten, brief, and barely remembered. On paper, Sean Regan's Portland resume is laughably small. 2 matches in 1973, a January draw with Bill Howard, and an October draw with Mickey Doyle. That's it. Hardly a blip on the radar. But pull back the curtain, and the story expands. See, Regan arrived in Vancouver from Europe in 1973 on the advice of the legendary George Gordienko. He stayed in Canada for a year, even grabbing the Pacific Coast title from the Brute before dropping it to Mike Webster a few months later. Along the way, he collected wins over names like Gene Kaninsky, Dean Higuchi, Eric Froelich, and Bulldog Brown, and even had a shot at the NWA World title against Harley Race. Regan never wrestled in North America again. Instead, he went back to Europe where he spent the remainder of his 24-year career. After wrestling under his real name Jerry Murphy, he became an author, writing 3 books. And today, he lives in South Africa, where he is deeply involved in teacher training and civil rights advocacy. So yes, 2 draws in Portland, but a life that proved wrestling was just one chapter of many. Now here's a real puzzle. Jon Vachon. In December of 1976, Butcher Vachon rolled into the Northwest. In Portland, he had a partner. No, not Mad Dog Vachon. This time, it was billed as Jon Vachon. But who was he? The trail is very confusing. In Vancouver around the same time, Butcher teamed with a man named Pierre Vachon. Now, some sources list Pierre as Butcher's son, but the records don't quite add up. Pierre wrestled in 1976 and then disappeared until 2005. That's nearly a 30-year gap. That's why many believe Jon Vachon and Pierre Vachon were the same person, an impostor taking the family name as a tribute. The theory goes that Jon might have actually been Hangman Neil Goy, who was in Los Angeles before and after the Northwest run. Well, whoever Jon Vachon really was, the records show 1 win over Dale Lewis and Rocky Montero as a team, and a loss to the legendary Samoan duo Afa and Sika. After that, he vanished. No trace, no follow-up, just another mystery lost to time. Now we come to one of the strangest names in Portland wrestling obscurity, Jack Ruffin. Or was it John Ruffin? Or was it John Boy Ruffin? Depending on which program you picked up, you might have seen all 3. WrestleData actually lists Jack and John as 2 separate wrestlers, but chances are it was just one man working under different names. Ruffin's run in the Northwest began in Vancouver in 1975, and right away he looked poised for something bigger. In his debut, he and Igor Volkoff actually defeated Jimmy Snuka and Orman Malamba, a huge upset for a rookie team. He dropped into Portland for a handful of matches in late 75, though records oddly suggest he worked Indianapolis during that same stretch. And he popped back in 1977 as well. Outside of Portland, Ruffin has a few unique footnotes. His stepfather was Les Ruffin, an old-time wrestler from decades earlier. In ICW, Ruffin had the distinction of unmasking the miser, better known as Angelo Poffo. That's right, the father of Randy Savage. But tragedy ended his story. John Boy Ruffin was shot and killed in 1982. Another wrestler whose life ended far too soon. Sean Regan, 2 Portland matches, but a life lived across continents. Jon Vachon, a mystery with no clear answer. And Jack Ruffin, a man with many names, some big wins, and a tragic end. This is why we tell these stories, because even if the spotlight only touched them for a moment, their lives and their legacies still echo. Hey, this has been Frank Culbertson, and this is Portland Wrestling Obscurities, forgotten, brief, and barely remembered. Inspired by the Encyclopedia of Portland Wrestlers by historian Mike Rogers, available now on Amazon. And new episodes drop every Tuesday and Friday. Be sure to follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your wrestling history. And don't miss the next dive into the shadows of Portland Wrestling's ring.